Jews.
Because
that has nothing to do with Jews. It has nothing to do
I didn't say it has nothing to do with Jews.
It has to do with Judaism being a heresy, man.
I said it has nothing to do with Judaism. Just like I would say the same, that in the case of the Northeast, the progressivism comes out of a rebellion against Christianity. Now,
like Judaism?
It's a rebellion against Judaism, whereas you're presenting it as a manifestation of it.
Wait, say that again?
I'm saying that the secularism in Israel is a result of a rebellion against Judaism, not a manifestation of it. You are maintaining that
it's a rebellion against Christianity. The reason that these people groups become so ensconced in progressive ideology is because they reject Jesus Christ as their foundation. That is Islam, that is Judaism, and from my view, that is also many sects of Protestantism, which are non-Trinitarian. The reason they have to adopt those things is because the theology is so bad, they have to fill in the gaps with other things.
All right, so what we're saying here, and this is a point of agreement, we are dealing with a menacing radical secularism that has developed in the world and in the West.
Yes.
The West invented it. The Jews did not invent it. Its authors...
Protestants didn't invent it either.
Was Charles Darwin a Jew? Was Nietzsche a Jew? Was Heidegger a Jew?
The Protestant Reformation paved the way for progressive ethics. I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
It happened before the great thinkers of progressive enlightenment. The Protestant Reformation paved the way, but it happened before these things came to fruition. By the way, many of these Protestant heresies are considered by both Catholics and Orthodox to be Judaizing heresies for a reason. Same reason that we consider Jews to be heretics, not ethnic Jews. Remember, I'm making the distinction now between people who believe in Judaism theologically versus people who are just ethnic Jews. I don't have any problem with Arabs, and I don't have any problem with ethnic Jews. That has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
My point is, you can't look me in the eye and say that Protestant heresies led to the embrace of progressive ideology, but that Jewish heresies don't. And I can prove it to you. If you reject Jesus Christ, who is the source of all truth, what do you end up with? What do you end up with?
Let me say that even here in America, over the past 30 years...
This is not an answer to my question.
It is an answer. It is an answer. I have had a fair amount of experience with Orthodox Jews who have been fans of mine. They come up to me at events. Now, why are they fans of mine? They socially, politically, morally, they are to the right of me. They are totally against abortion. They are totally against LGBTQ.
So are Muslims.
And not only do they say it, they actually live it.
So do Muslims.
Hold on. So are the Muslims, correct. But what I'm getting at is that to argue that Judaism is itself responsible for secularism is stupid, because the most religious Jews are not secular at all.
Right.
They are
to argue. Let me
on
show
the
you
moral issues.
I'm going to show you how stupid this is. To argue that Protestantism is responsible for progressivism is stupid, because out in the hallway I met some Protestants and they were really fucking based.
No. Hold on.
That is literally the stupidest thing you've said tonight.
This is pure sophistry.
Things. No,
this is pure sophistry.
Not sophistry.
Well, let me tell you why. Because what you do with an analogy is you misstate the analogy. If you could find me a group of devout evangelical Christians and say, these devout evangelical Christians who go to church on Wednesday, they go to church on Sunday, they are really into it and serious about their faith, but they happen to also support trans surgeries, they support abortion, I would be shocked. Because I would say no, if someone is devout and serious about their faith, they're not going to support those things. They're going to be solid on the moral issues.
So Episcopalians are not solid in their faith?
So I just told you that Orthodox Jews are very solid on the moral issues, and they are not part of secular degeneracy.
Yeah, but this is crazy.
And then you switch the analogy and give me a generic Protestant.
I'm going to repeat it to you verbatim to make sure I got it right before I respond.
Okay.
I'm going to steel man the position so that there's no doubt this is not a straw man.
Okay.
You are saying to me, there are Orthodox Jews who are just super based, Andrew. They don't like abortion. They don't like LGBTQ. They don't like any of that degenerate stuff.
No.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Can we agree that there's lots and lots of Protestants, including Episcopalians, who
It's Andrew Wilson debating Dinesh D'Souza. No, I have Xbox One. Rest in peace, Diddy. Diddy's not dead.
you say are responsible for the current state of progressive Enlightenment principles being enacted in this nation, who are super based and also don't like abortion, right? They also don't like LGBTQ. They don't like any of that. True or false?
Yeah, and those Protestants, those Protestants fall into the Assemblies of God. They fall into the Baptist denominations, very different from the Unitarians, the Anglicans, the Presbyterians, and the Methodists. I mean, the reason
but you just got them saying, though, now you're in contradiction.
I'm saying that
the second you say Episcopalians are responsible for this, but not some Episcopalians, you're making the same argument with the exception that I would. You're right. Judaism is also a heresy, therefore responsible for the integration of progressive values, especially in Israel, but not all of them. Great. What the hell have we established here? Except that heresies lead to progressive ideology across the board, which is why the church has always been against them.
Heresies should be rejected theologically.
Yes.
But it's possible in a decent society to make moral alliances with people who are heretics but agree with us on certain moral issues.
Agreed.
And so you could find someone in America right now who's an atheist, but they don't think that kids should be killed in the womb. They don't support euthanasia or infanticide. They don't support trans surgeries. And you would say, guess what? You know what, buddy? You're on the right side. Now, are you going to heaven? No. Theologically, you are on the outside.
But is it immoral to support them? Is it
What's up, black boy? What's up, Ray Brown?
Immoral not to support that same group you just said we could make an alliance with if we so chose? Would it be immoral for us not to?
It would be immoral to reject them when they want to be in alliance with you on the side of good. It would be like the pro-life movement deciding that anybody who's going to hell cannot be allowed in the pro-life movement. It would be wrong and immoral to do that because these are allies on a good cause. It doesn't matter if they have bad opinions on their socialists and other things. You don't support them in the socialism, but you support them in the area that they are on the side of good.
Got it.
And that's what I'm saying about Israel.
And this makes complete and total sense to me. So, if I'm breaking down your position and I'm getting it totally correct, you're saying that if it is the case that, let's say there's a group of atheists who oppose abortion, you're not going to reject that help because the greater good is to stop abortion.
You would not reject their help in the pro-life cause.
Right. Right.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so it would actually be immoral in that context to reject that help.
Correct.
Got it. Now let's get an equivalent analogy
Yes.
for how it is that if we decide that we're not going to send billions of dollars to Israel, we're not going to send a single soldier over to help them at any time because the United States electorate doesn't want it, and if
Yo, like, share, subscribe. What's everyone up to tonight?
however, why would that be immoral?
Well, it would be a wrong decision both tactically.
Why would it be immoral?
It would be immoral because what we are ultimately doing is we are
What's up, boys?
our side and is kicking the ass of the bad guys in a very dangerous
They're all
neighborhood.
bad guys.
No, they're not all bad guys on this issue. The Islamic project is global caliphate. There's no equivalent Jewish project to that. The Jews are fighting that, and they're doing it with great effectiveness.
So then tell me this. Let's just...
All the money.
That we have, democratically, we could decide by the majority of people saying we don't want to have anything to do with it.
Let's dive right in.
And we have every right to do that.
Let's dive right in. Let's find out if this is true, if this is logically true. Let us play pretend.
Okay.
Tomorrow, all of these Islamic nations right around Israel unite and they crush it and they wipe Israel out in a single day. Let's just say in this hypothetical.
Yeah, okay.
What happens then to the United States? What happens to the United States?
What happens to the United States now is that you will have created what Islam has long dreamed of, which is a restoration of we haven't had an Islamic.
Why do I give a shit about the Islamic Caliphate though? Why do I care? They
The Islamic Caliphate
they
is in
destroyed
Dallas.
Israel.
The
They
Islamic
destroyed Israel.
Caliphate is all over Texas. It is not only taken
That's
over.
immigration, though. We can fix immigration whether or not you have a Jewish state or not.
Hold on. Many of these Muslims have been here for decades. This project has been going on. Muslims came to Detroit in
What
the
would that have to do with
1920s. It
Israel
was the
being gone?
anti-Semitism of Henry Ford, where he said, "I want to go and bring a bunch of Muslims over
You gotta stay
here."
on topic. Israel's gone now in this hypothetical in a single day. They just steamroll it. They take all the land.
Right.
Okay? They are reforming a caliphate, let's even say.
And you're like, who cares?
Well, yeah, when I go down into my toolbox to grab the wrench to wrench on my fucking car, I care about this. Why?
Okay, why would you care if the same thing happened to Alaska?
Because those are my countrymen.
Oh, those are your countrymen, but you still can go to your toolbox and you can work in your garage. And if Alaska's off the
Now
map,
that would have drastic direct
How?
repercussions upon me if
How?
it was the case that one of the states of the country that I live in was steamrolled by Islam. On the other hand, I think that there would be far less drastic and direct consequences were it the case that, let's just say, Israel steamrolled by Islam. What I want to know specifically
No, mine's definitely longer.
is the mechanic in the garage down the street. What does that do to him?
Take my word for it.
well, in your view of the world, if it is outside the geographic border of a,
Yeah, it's super long, bro.
it's nothing to do with it.
Answer
Would you
the
say the same
question.
about Mexico?
I want you to answer the question I ask instead of the obfuscation.
The world is a much more
Yeah,
dangerous
the world's
place.
a dangerous place, dangerous neighborhoods
You don't
in the
care.
world. I know.
It doesn't
it's
matter.
terrible. That's all rhetoric. Answer the question I ask. Forget the rhetoric. Give me the logic. Let's pretend, seriously pretend, game out the hypothetical with me. Israel's destroyed in a single day by its Islamic neighbors. Okay, that's what happens. It's gone, let's just say. How the hell does that negatively affect the United States? What is it going to do?
It's longer than these nuts.
Muslims are getting super uppity and want their caliphate.
Okay.
How, what?
All
what does
right.
it do?
Let's play it out.
Let's.
Okay, so number one, let's assume that a juggernaut launched out of, let's say, Iran and Qatar takes Israel.
Uh-huh.
And not only that, but now all the other Gulf kingdoms are intimidated, and so they submit to a single unified force. Let's just call it the United States of Islam.
Okay.
And that's the whole Middle East.
Okay.
It is fantastically rich, it has nuclear weapons, and it has a suicidal and genocidal ideology that says, we love death, we don't like life. These guys, right, are now going to start bankrolling the Islamic project in America to a degree that you can hardly imagine. So we are now talking about the fact that
I don't know what you're talking about. 9047.
by and large, if you want to get,
What up, Russia?
just write them a check for $10,000 and they will call you within a week. Within a week to hear
I don't know what that is either, bro. The hell you smoking?
Islamic regime, 2 billion people in the world with almost infinite resources, offering every U.S. congressman $100 million in their pack if they vote on the side of Islam. What percentage of Democrats do you think would say no? I would submit it's about 1 or 2%. What percentage
Yeah,
of
most
Republicans would
Republicans
say
would say
no?
no.
I submit it's about 10%.
Okay, great.
My son-in-law included.
Okay.
But what we're basically talking about is a buyout of the United States of America, Inc. This is on the table. The Muslims say they're going to do it. They are doing it. We would
And all that
fortify them
stands in their
belief.
way is 10 million
so
Jews.
you started out.
All that stands in the way of all of the Muslim world uniting, even though there's nukes there now, even though they have a shared value to destroy Israel now, is 10 million Jews that are sitting. That's the stupidest thing that I ever heard. Here's actually
Well,
much more
you
likely.
started.
Hang
Hold on.
Let's
Okay,
game
go
it
ahead.
out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll game it out.
Let's game it out.
I'll game it out a different way.
Okay.
They destroy Israel in a single day. Isn't it equally possible that they open up relations with the United States and the rest of the West because they want to enter into massive trade agreements? Because it is the case that they want their own people groups to thrive? Because it is the case that they are geographically landlocked away from Europe for the most part, and definitely the United States?
Okay.
Isn't it the case that we could get oil for cheaper?
Yeah.
Isn't it then the case that there's all sorts of trade agreements we could have that we no longer have to sanction them on because we don't have to have this protectorate there, that's equally logically possible. The problem that you have here, I'm not saying that this should happen. I'm pointing out an analogy that you are making the determinative kind of quality here, that 10 million Jews are stopping this nightmare scenario. And it's absurd. That's not what's actually going on. What's actually going on is the United States military is what's stopping that nightmare scenario, not 10 million Jews in the United States. And if we had mass migration of Christians to that region for their own Holy Land, for them to have their own holy relics, for them to have the Holy Land back to them, that region would be infinitely safer than it is right this second.
So I think here we've reached the point where the core naivete of your position, which is that the Muslims are just like the rest of us, comes to the forefront. When the
Yeah, unless you're in one of those states where they still didn't legalize it.
the ambassadors was, go talk to the ambassador in Tripoli and ask them what is their beef with America. They've been fighting with Europe for a long time. We haven't done anything to them. Why are they doing this to us? And the ambassador, Abdul Rahman, replied, he goes, it has nothing to do with you. We are doing this because it asks us to do it in the Quran. You are an infidel, and our job is to fight, defeat, and destroy the infidels. This is in the Quran. It is the actual constitution of the world of Islam.
Great.
So when you say, these are guys who want coffee shops and tall buildings and Trump Tower and high tech, yes. But I would say, and here is where you would say that the Muslims who want those things are actually the Muslims least attentive to the Quran. These are the Muslims who are actually less Islamic.
And less
the
inbred.
true Muslims,
And less inbred.
the true Muslims see all of America as the house of war. So the idea that you suggest, which is that, gee, they're going to be landlocked, we need to make some trade deals, is a complete misunderstanding of the nature of Islam. And this is part of the reason that you see Israel as an unnecessary add-on.
I just want to make sure the naivete is on my part, that you believe the only thing stopping this future is 10 million Jews who are in that region.
No.
I just want to make sure that that is the actual position.
I'm not saying, look, you gave me a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And you said, if Israel is obliterated, the scenario I'm describing doesn't require the obliteration of Israel. It simply requires the complete mobilization of those countries. I think what Trump is doing is he's playing a game in which he's trying to set one Muslim off against another. He's like, listen, let me see.
This is actually perfect. So that if it is the case, Dinesh, that this does not require the obliteration of Israel, for Muslims to do this right this second, if they do begin acting this way, and I agree with you that they likely will, then I could see how Christians would have an obligation to intervene, especially in our own interests, because now they're coming here to kill us. Great. We would need to do something about that. But you see how you carefully took Israel out of that equation and 10 million Jews there out of that equation? What's the obligation morally that we have to go help them right this second, when you just made the claim that without them there, or with them there, this can still happen, even without their obliteration?
Well, let's extend out the same analogy to see why what I'm saying makes total sense.
Okay.
Let's envision a scenario where it's not Israel that is overrun, but Australia, Canada, Great Britain, France, and Germany are overrun by the Muslims.
With their immigration policy?
That's right. With their immigration policy, but not just immigration policy, massively supported by terrorist infiltration, money coming out of Qatar and other Islamic countries.
How did the terrorists infiltrate without the mass migration, Dinesh?
No, many of them are already in the country.
Because of mass migration, Dinesh.
Because of original mass migration. Yes, I agree.
What we've done is
this
is suicidal empathy, but that has nothing at all to do. If we have good border policy and we have good immigration policy locking Islam out of the United States and Western world, which I would love to see, right? This problem goes away regardless of us helping Israel or not.
Number one, many of them are already here. Number two, the Muslim Brotherhood has made it really clear in its memoranda that we don't actually want to focus on Bin Laden types with long beards and white robes.
They want to focus on the womb. They want to focus on the womb.
We want American-born kids,
Yes.
dude, and American-born converts to take the vanguard. We need Islamic lawyers born in America. So unless you have some plan for getting out 30 million Muslims who are legal and U.S. citizens, by the way, you're talking nonsense. You're just hypothetically saying if we close the border, the problem will go away.
We're not the UK, Dinesh.
We're not the
We
UK.
have very few actual Muslims here in comparison to the population total size. We have a lot of Hispanics here in comparison to the population of total size, especially illegally. If we were right this second to curtail off immigration from Islamic nations, this problem does go away. It's not usually the fourth, fifth generation Islamic kids, who by that time, by the way, have usually left Islam, who are the problem with this. What it is it's usually within the first couple of generations, or people coming in on H-1Bs, or coming in with different visas, who conduct those terror operations. We've already absorbed Islamists. We've already absorbed a few million of them, but there's not that many of them. That's one. And two, over several generations of integration, that ideology, many of them moved to Christianity, they moved to secular ethics, they moved to the general kind of civic ideology of the nation that they're in, if they're that small of a minority. So I don't think we would really have to worry too much about terror attacks.
Almost everything you're saying is factually untrue.
Which thing?
Okay, number one.
Well, yeah, if they were all legal, it wouldn't be a problem.
Immigrants and Jews. Hold on. No. I mean, it's my way of talking. There are other immigrant groups, including Jews, that have assimilated, that no longer practice Judaism. This is least true of Muslims in America. Why? Because the mosque in Islam does not fulfill the same purpose as a church.
Yeah, but that's a half-truth, because...
It's a half-truth.
Yeah, so it is in fact the case. Do you agree with me that by the third generation in the Islamic family, the children by that time are actually way more likely to leave that faith? One leaves for every one that joins, and usually the people who join, right, you have another one who leaves. It's a revolving door, which is declining. It is declining in the United States, not increasing.
You are missing a really important counter trend, just as true in America as in Europe.
Okay.
The children and the third and fourth generation of Muslims are far more likely to become terrorists and radical Muslims than even the first generation or the Muslims in the Muslim world. Why? Because in the West we have a crisis of identity. Like, who am I? I'm in a meaningless life. I have a meaningless society. So Islam provides for people in the West that sense of higher purpose, motivation. You can be a soldier for Allah. If you go tell that to some guy in India or Pakistan, he has no identity crisis. He's not going to be talking this bullshit. If you tell him, listen, we all need to go pray in the middle of the street, he'd be like, are you insane? We don't do this anywhere in the Muslim world, but we do it in London. We do it in Dallas. We do it in America, because the American Muslims have this sense of identity, and they are much more likely to see themselves as fighting in a higher cause than some ordinary Muslim on the Muslim street in Jordan.
Yeah, but when we're talking about domestic terrorism, most of it's not conducted by Islam. Let's be real. And by the way, the ones who are here already, if we cut off and curtail any more from coming in, this cross-generational problem does eventually go away. It has to. You're not having any more come in. The ideology is terrible, spreading in Christian nations. Never been good at it in the West unless you import it. The thing here that's really funny, though, is that out of all of this, you still haven't given me an ought for why it is that Christians need to support Israel. And with all of the tangential policy that we've gone over, which I think much of this we can find some kind of even ground. Like you, for instance, I'm sure you would love to stop Islam from immigrating to Western nations. I'm sure you would love that, right?
Right.
Okay, I would too. So we have like an olive branch there.
Subject.
Neither one of us wants to see ethnic Jews persecuted, destroyed, hurt, anything like that, right? We can agree on that too.
Right.
And we don't want to see that happen to Arabs either. We can agree on that too.
Yeah.
So we're talking about ideology here. So when we're talking about and we're discussing...
Stay safe out there. Hope the war ends and all that.
Back to the original point. And the original point is that Judaism leads to the same type of secular progressive poison ideology. The Jewish faith itself does this. Just like it is the case that the heretical Protestants do the exact same thing. And I would say that that is 10 times more damaging even than if we had 10 times the amount of domestic terror attacks we have right now from Islam.
Let's test your proposition that Judaism itself gives rise to secular degeneracy.
Sure.
You had Jewish communities in many, many parts of the world over many, many centuries.
Like Israel?
No, I'm talking about the diaspora.
Okay.
And I'm talking about through the Middle Ages, through the end of the Roman Empire, in the time of the Renaissance and the Reformation. Now, you would expect, if Judaism is the problem, that all the secular degeneracy would emerge by itself inside of these tribal Jewish communities. You'd expect, for example, that when Shakespeare talks about the Merchant of Venice, the Jews would be like having sex with a dog, or they would be, killing off their kids, or they would be engaging in all kinds of moral degeneracy. And you get the exact opposite picture. The Jews maintained not only their tribal identity, but a strict regimen of laws and codes and commandments. Shylock is upset with his daughter because she marries a Christian. But from Shylock's point of view, that is not moral laxity. That is a rigorous enforcement of Jewish orthodoxy. So, the secular degeneracy emerges in the West, outside of the Jewish community, then it penetrates and pollutes the Jewish community, and you're trying to blame Judaism for it.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you that all heretical ideologies lead to secular progressive values because they don't hold the truth of Christ. If you don't hold the truth of Christ, you cannot know the truth. Period. You, for instance, Dinesh, I'll give you an example of how it is you don't hold truth. You claim, for instance, that you would say that Jesus Christ isn't a Christian, right?
Jesus Christ can no more be a Christian than
Marx can be a Marxist,
or Buddha could be a Buddhist, or Confucius could be a Confucian.
Yeah,
it is actually impossible.
Great. Is God omnipotent and omniscient?
Is God omnipotent?
Is God omnipotent and omniscient?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then that would mean that he saw Jesus' crucifixion at the same time that he made the earth. Is that the case?
Yes. That is the
okay,
case.
well then great. And what did he determine at the very second the earth was made, that if he saw the beginning of time and the end of time,
yes,
as Jesus Christ was being crucified, what was Jesus Christ's purpose?
To come as the Redeemer of the world.
And is Jesus Christ God?
Yes.
Then Jesus Christ was a Christian. Thank you. That's what happens when you don't hold
This
truth.
is called philosophical horse shit.
How? Refute it.
I'll refute it.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll refute it.
I can't wait.
Okay. I'm going to apply your same logic.
Okay.
To let me think of what's the best way to unfold this. Well, let me get to what I think you're doing. The Bible operates on more than one level. In fact, the early Christians spoke about the fourfold way to read the Bible. The Bible should be read literally or historically, number one.
Okay.
Metaphorically or symbolically, 2.
Okay.
Morally, 3. And eschatologically or prophetically, 4. And the early Christians emphasized that all 4 readings are simultaneous. Neither refutes the other. So there is the historical Jesus. He came into the world just like the flood actually happened. And Noah really did build an ark.
How is this refuting my logic?
Here, I'll tell you why. Because you then go, is God omnipotent?
Yeah.
Isn't it the case that the ark represents Christ? Yes, it does.
No.
Metaphorically, the ark does represent
Can
Christ.
you just give me my...
Metaphorically, the ark was foreseen as a progenitor.
This is prattle, dude. Look, can you repeat back my argument?
Okay.
And then refute it.
Okay, I'm refuting it thus.
No, repeat it first.
Okay. Your argument is that God foresaw that Jesus would be the Redeemer of the world from the beginning of the world.
Because God's non-temporal, He's omnipotent, He's omniscient.
Correct.
So if that's the case, and Jesus Christ is God, right?
Yes.
Then how could it possibly be that as He saw Jesus' crucifixion, knew His purpose for the world and heralded it with every single prophet He had, that His purpose in life, God's, wasn't Christianity? And He wasn't a Christian if that was the entire purpose.
Oh, right. And He wasn't a Christian. So that's that last quick move that you make. That's completely fallacious.
How's
God
it
could have seen from the beginning of the world, I will take an itinerant Jewish rabbi who was born a Jew named Yeshua, whose dad was a Jew named Yosef, and his mom was a Jew named Miriam, who kept all the Jewish rites and
What is this?
Extraordinarily I know that some people have good intentions with me, and some people just don't seem to be able to keep my balls off of their fucking forehead. And I don't understand why I haven't said anything to anybody. I haven't been bothering anybody. I haven't been saying anything or fucking crashing out or any of that stuff. Yet still, there are still some extraordinarily immature, rotten-ass, subhuman, trash peasants who absolutely can't keep my fucking name out of their cock holsters. And I don't understand why you love me so much. But then I started to realize, I know why you love me so much. It's because I brought so much to this community. If it wasn't for me, this community and all of you, it would be completely different. I literally changed the landscape of everything.
Watching some drama. Yeah, just chilling. I was watching a debate, and then I stopped it for a second to see what this guy was talking about.
And if you don't believe me, go fuck yourself. I'm right and you're wrong. There's something almost flattering about watching everyone pretend that they don't need me, while slowly becoming every single thing I showed you how to be. Before me, there was no morning shows, no coffee shows, no podcasts, no interview formats, none of that shit. No real attempt to build this community at all. Then I came along. I brought ideas, I brought structure, I brought creativity. I showed people what was possible and what they've been missing. And now I look around and I see echoes of myself everywhere. You guys can copy my format, you can copy my concept, my ideas, you can rename it, you can arrange it.
I still don't know what he's talking about.
Differently, you can put a different logo on it. You can do everything you can to convince yourselves that it's your actual idea. But we all know that everything you guys are doing is because of me, whether you want to believe it or not. So that's the difference between creators and imitators. Creators don't panic when people copy yesterday's ideas. They just call them out for it. Because, hey, you can't all be this smart, huh? You need to get your ideas from somewhere, so I understand. I'm flattered, kinda. Look, I'm not angry. I don't want credit. And I'm certainly not looking to be involved. I just want you all to recognize that every fucking show you have, all your coffee fucking things, all your little podcasts and interviews and shit you're having, you're welcome. We are going to get into it. It's going to be a lot about, like I said, about Islam, some other things, about some people.
Bro. What the fuck are you... What is this shit? What the actual...
Mike ass, fat motherfucking bald, no teeth having looking mother. Oh! Just having a good day. You ready for court? You guys ready for court? You ready to get convicted for masonry? Huh?
Wait. You can't be serious.
Hamburger. We got a hamburger for you.
Stop! The first time Antifa loves to make
Weirdo. Weirdo.
He's brown, right? And you got.
This fucking way.
Yeah, of course he
He
is.
followed us car.
I paid that one night. I paid
We're having a barbecue on. God bless you.
Get the fuck out of here, Mike.
Have a good day.
We come to your fucking events. We come and show up and tell you. You guys are pussies. You're a pussy.
What in the hell?
You want a hamburger? Hey, we got a hamburger for you. We got a hamburger for you.
celebrate all the Jewish festivals and taught as a Jew coming to save the Jews first and foremost, and then later allowing other non-Jews to be grafted in. The Bible couldn't be more clear about this. Jesus was the Jewish savior of the world.
This literally doesn't
Now,
refute my
in
argument
Antioch,
at all. It's not
it does
even
refute
contending
your
with it.
argument. It
If
does
God
refute
is
your argument
omnipotent
because-
and God is omniscient, and God saw that the purpose for himself was to die on the cross for our sins at the very beginning of time. His purpose was Christendom, and he was a Christian. How could it be anything else? It's not even logically possible for anything else to occur. You say, Mark,
It is logically
you can't call
possible.
Marx a Marxist. What if Marx was omniscient and omnipotent and knew that he was going to institute Marxism? Could we call him a Marxist then? Could we call him a Marxist then, Dinesh?
Well, the problem
Could we
is,
call him a Marxist then?
if Marx identified and said, I'm a Marxist, I'm going to start this movement in which I am its first leader.
Right from the beginning
And
of
that did not
time.
happen with Jesus.
Perfect.
Did it?
What?
Did Jesus say, guess what? I am a Christian, and starting this new religion called Christianity, and everybody who follows it now is going to take my name. Jesus did not do any
He
of that.
didn't need to.
He didn't need to, but he didn't do it, right?
The purpose, if you fulfill the purpose for which you yourself foresaw and heralded would happen, Jesus Christ knows that he is God. He knows it. He knows what the fulfillment of his own ideology is going to be, and that is Christianity. Yet you still say he's not a Christian, even though the Jews reject him. That's insane. He's omniscient, he's omnipotent, he's non-temporal. He sees the end and the
You're using...
simultaneously.
You're
you
using-
can't refute this.
I am refuting it.
How?
Because you are using omniscience to get around logic. And then here's the logic. Well, let me lay out the logic. Let me lay out the logic. Jesus, hang on. Let's think just for a minute. Let's think for a little bit. Jesus is a Christian. Okay? Jesus is a Christian is a statement of the type A is B. Right? A is B. Jesus is a Christian. Now, in logic, if you say A is B, it must follow everything that is true of B is also true of A. Otherwise, A can't be B. A is B means whatever you say about B is true of A. Now, let's look at a bunch of things that are true of Christians.
Okay.
Okay? Do we follow Christ? Isn't that the meaning of Christianity? Yes.
Thank
Did
you.
Jesus follow himself? No. We worship
Then who
Christ.
did- hang
Hold
on.
on, let me finish my thought.
Who did he follow?
Jesus followed the Father. We follow...
Jesus is himself. part of
Jesus
the
is
concept
himself
of
the Father, but
Just to be
Jesus...
So
sure.
who did he follow then?
Just to be sure we hear the last thought.
Who the hell was he following?
Do we as
Was he
Christians...
following
Hold on.
pharisaical
Just-
Do
Jews?
we
just-
as
Following.
Christians...
Just to hear the point.
Do we as Christians worship Jesus?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did Jesus worship himself? No.
Who did
Do we as...
Jesus
Hold on.
pray to in the garden?
Just to let Dinesh finish his point.
Number 3,
Yeah.
we as Christians are in need of salvation and we need a Savior to die for us. Otherwise,
Thanks
we
for
can't
the
be
star.
saved. Did Jesus need a Savior to die for him so that he could be saved?
he wasn't
No.
the Savior.
Right. So now what you're doing is in repeating back to me what I'm saying is you are reluctantly agreeing that the statement A equals B cannot be true because I've just told you 3 things that are true of B that cannot be true of A.
Okay, so let me just make sure I got this correct. We'll see if this actually holds logical muster or not.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start with this. Jesus Christ, you say, is not a Christian. He's a Jew, right?
Right.
Okay, got it.
Historically.
Right? He incarnates as a Jewish man.
Right.
Okay, so there's no dispute there, right?
Right.
Was his ideology Jewish?
His ideology was Jewish, yes.
So Why did he die for our sins?
Because he was sent on a divine mission to do that.
By who?
And to do that
By who?
He was sent by the God of the Old Testament, the God the Father,
Uh-huh.
the God who chose the Jews, chose Jesus to come out of that Jewish line.
And who is he dying for?
And while Jesus died for all of mankind, his ministry was to the Jews. It later took a Paul, it took other apostles.
Do you think that Jesus never intended his ministry to be?
No, I think he did intend
Right,
it.
me too.
I think he did intend it.
So the fulfillment.
But so what?
So the fulfillment of Christ's purpose is Christianity.
No one denies that it is. Yes,
Okay, great.
it is the
So then
fulfillment
if-
of Christ's purpose.
so then if
but
it-
that doesn't mean that Jesus was
Hang
a
on,
Christian.
Dinesh, we'll walk it through.
Okay.
Okay, so if the fulfillment of Christ's purpose
Yeah.
is Christianity,
Yep.
then how can you possibly say, if he has the foreknowledge that that is going to happen, that he wasn't always a Christian? How?
Well,
Did God change his mind one day?
no. If,
No. So then he always knew.
Hold on. If through the particularity of
Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's no one else around? Me and you and awkward silence. Don't you dare look at me that way. I don't need reminders of how you don't feel the same. Oh, the burning pain, listening to your heart pump out some new soulmate. She's so perfect, blah blah blah. Oh, how I wish you'll wake up one day. Run to me, confess your love. At least just let me say that when I talk to you, oh Cupid walks right through and shoots an arrow through my heart.
So, Michael.
And I sound like a loon, but don't you feel it to confess I love you from the start. What's a girl to do? Lying on my bed, staring into the blue. Unrequited, terrifying love is driving me a bit insane. Have to get this off my chest. I'm telling you today that when I talk to you, oh Cupid walks right through and shoots an arrow through my heart. And I sound like a loon, but don't you feel it to confess I love you from the start. Confess I love you, just thinking of you. I know I've loved you from the start.
Dedicated to me. How sweet.
of history, a Jesus comes, let's just say Jesus came from America.
Okay.
Okay? But he had a ministry for the whole world.
Yeah.
And he foresaw that the whole world would receive the message.
Yeah.
Would Jesus cease to be American? Would he become a globalist?
Why?
No.
He would remain an American because he was born in America. He was American through and through.
Sean, I think
He
you're
ministered to the Americans,
Sean, I
and the
think
fact that his ministry was worldwide and
Sean,
foreseen to be worldwide
Sean.
and known by God to be worldwide does not change one bit the fact that Jesus was, is, and will remain an American. That's a fact, and you know
And
it's
we
true,
agree that
but you
hang
have
on.
to.
So I'm gonna show you how stupid this logic is.
Okay, how so?
So you say Jesus would remain American, right?
That's right.
And we agree that Jesus remained Jewish, right?
Right.
Okay, great. But the fulfillment of his ideology was Christianity?
Yes.
Okay, great. And we know that from the very beginning of time, he knew the fulfillment for all of mankind was Christianity?
So?
So then, if
that make
the
him a
fulfillment
Christian?
of the entirety of the ideology
All
is Christianity, and you have the foreknowledge of that is the way, the truth, and the light, and you have that
What is this weird fucking hypothetical, man?
fulfilled in yourself. He comes and dies. How could his ideology, right from the very beginning, not have been Christianity? If it was the case that he was coming to fulfill Christianity.
Okay. I'm Karl Marx.
Uh-huh.
I'm born
You
in
lost
Germany.
me.
Yeah.
I'm a German.
Yeah.
I foresee
Yeah.
that I'm going to write a book, the Communist Manifesto, that is going to be adopted by Russia and China, that will create massive communist societies on my model. And not only am I writing for that purpose, I know that purpose in advance.
So you have
Hold on, does that make Marx a Russian or a Chinese? Of course not. He remains a German. He remains someone who has put out a German message, which was then picked up and adopted worldwide, but it doesn't change who he was in the slightest. You're acting as if because Jesus knew
What?
in advance.
Wait, hang on. Just want to make sure I get this right.
Okay.
So you're talking about his nationality. So
Well, I'm just by analogy.
Because Marx knows beforehand that people are going to accept his ideology, he's still a Russian? But
He's
we're
not a
just-
Russian. He's Marx was a German.
Okay, but I'm pointing this out, right? Whatever he is, let's just
Yeah,
say.
okay.
He's that thing still. We still agree that Jesus was
He's
Jewish
not
and
a
was born in
Russian.
Bethlehem, right? And
What's
we
up,
read
Mona
these
Lisa?
facts.
And we agree that Jesus subscribed to Judaism. It wasn't just that he was
Uh-huh.
Jewish in the sense that happened to be born over here.
But he knew that his
He
purpose,
was-
he knew that his purpose was Christianity.
He knew right. He did. He
Okay.
knew that his purpose was a universal gospel message,
Now,
and that
let's
his
take-
followers would go by the name of
Perfect.
Christians.
Now let's
They would take his message.
take Marx analogy very
Sure.
quickly.
One
Let's
minute.
let us pretend just very quickly that Karl Marx had the gift of foresight, and he knew that Marxism was going to lead to capitalism. That was going to be the fulfillment of Marxism. It was always going to lead to capitalism,
Cheers,
and he
bro.
knew it. And that's why he instituted Marxism and allowed Marxism to happen, because he knew it was going to turn into capitalism. Was Marx a capitalist?
No, he would remain a Marxist.
Okay.
Isn't it true?
This is
Are you saying that? Are you saying that if Marx realized that in the unfolding of history,
Uh-huh.
Marxism would let's say Marx foresaw that my Marxist model will somehow be changed, and capitalism will replace Marxism.
He only had Marxism there to get to the capitalism. That's what it was there for, to lead to capitalism. Was Marx a Marxist then, or a capitalist?
Well, first of all, the reason your analogy is so dumb is it actually reverses Marx. Marx thought that.
I know it reverses Marx.
So
one more time, Marx foresees that Marxism is going to lead to capitalism because he's omniscient, and his ultimate purpose is capitalism and not Marxism. But he knows Marxism will lead to capitalism. Was Marx actually a Marxist or a capitalist?
Well, Marx would be a Marxist whose followers would be capitalists. It's obviously true because the fact that I foresee.
And you know logic, huh?
Okay, well, I think what we're talking about is
He wouldn't
history
be a capitalist.
versus eschatology.
30 seconds.
That's my whole point. And
okay.
I think that went off on a side tangent. I did want to address it because I know it's part
Well,
of what it is that
you're
you believe.
using.
But I'll just point this out.
Okay.
We still haven't actually established any moral oughts
Well,
at all for why Christians have to support Jews or Israel, not one time.
Well, you're using Islamic logic. Islamic logic is to take
There's only
somebody
one
like
logic.
Abraham, who is Jewish, never saw himself as anything else, and the Muslims will go, he was a Muslim. They will take Jesus, who saw himself as Jewish. Of course, Jesus foresaw Islam, but Jesus was really a Muslim. Now, the reason we would immediately recognize this as bogus reasoning is because you don't have the right to foist on people identities that you invented later and give them names and labels that belong to you as if you can somehow appropriate them out of their environment.
That's not
right.
right.
That's what you're doing.
That's not
That's what you're doing.
That's not why we
I
find
hate
that
to do it,
fallacious.
gentlemen. We have to. This is at the time we do normally go into the Q&A.
Oh,
but
okay.
It has been an
Can we get a
amazing-
brief closing each?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
How much would you guys like? 2 minutes? 3 minutes?
Just, 2 minutes.
Yeah, you go first. Okay.
Yeah, you should close last. I agree.
Well, I went first in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I agree. You should go. You should have the last word.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, this was really fun. And I really appreciate you coming up here and tangling with me, Dinesh. And by the way, I never take any of this personally. We have different ideologies that we're fighting for, slightly at least, but we have a lot of overlap too. And for that, I thank you.
We got the word Balzac from Balzacthamine.
Debate bad because you never established a single moral ought or reason why it is that Christians have an obligation to support Jews or Israel. In fact, I got a lot out of you here I was not expecting. You claim that Judaism is itself an evil ideology because it's in heresy. You also claim that Islam is an evil ideology as it's in heresy, which is exactly my position.
Thank you for permission.
We both established another fact.
I'll take that consent
Because
and I'll run with it.
that's ridiculous on its face. So we can make this ideological distinction immediately. The problem that we have is that I think due to your bad theology, which I'm happy to tangle with you in a different debate on the theological aspects of this, it's led you down this road where you seem to believe, for some reason, there's this ambiguous moral reason why there's an ought or a must for why it is that we must support Judaism or we must support Israel, this secular state, which you agreed was a secular state, and you also agree, well, it also has religious Jews in it, and those religious Jews who are in it, they're following an evil ideology, and the secular state itself is part of an evil ideology because it's secular. We never got to the establishment of the ought. Now, I will give some credit to Dinesh. He had the harder position to defend, and usually that's me. So credit where it's due. It's a much harder position to defend that there is some moral obligation versus saying that there's not. So credit where credit's due. But honestly, my friend, you just never established one. And we tried and tried and tried and tried. Most of your analogies got turned back on you. Basically, every hypothetical you had got turned back on you, and your reasoning was shown to be completely fallacious. And with that, I'll end the debate, and I thank you very much for having it with me.
Thank you very much. Ready for you.
As Christians, are we morally obligated to support
Credit where credit is
the Crusades? Yes. As Christians, are we morally obligated to support the spread of the Roman Empire and the Roman legions who carried Christianity across Europe? Yes. Were the Roman legions good guys? No. Were the Crusaders always good guys? No. Were we morally obligated to support the Allies in World War II? Yes. Were they all good guys? No. But they were on the right side of a terrible evil that was being unleashed in the world. Were we right to support Stalin against Hitler? Yes. Because Hitler posed a greater threat at the time. Having supported Stalin against Hitler, were we right to have a Cold War against Stalin himself? Because he represented an embodiment of a different kind of evil in the Cold War? Yes. The world is no different today than it's ever been. There are lots of bad forces in the world, and there are some good forces that are trying to counter them. It's a very big world, and there are in it Buddhists, Confucians, Taoists, Jews, Muslims.
It's
The fact that
Andrew Wilson and Dinesh D'Souza.
that they are not on board with us theologically is one thing. It says that we need to promote the Great Commission, we need to promote the gospel, we need to support missionary efforts throughout the world. I don't disagree with any of this. But this is being deployed in a kind of brutish fashion to somehow imply that Judaism is different than any. We make allies with countries all the time. We have common cause all the time that lasts for decades, sometimes centuries. We have special relationships with countries for good reason. we support and we should support South Korea against North Korea. That's why South Korea is a prosperous Western society. Now maybe they allow a pride parade, but they are nevertheless a much preferable moral alternative to North Korea.
30 seconds.
The Jews are basically the good people in a really bad neighborhood made up of really bad people who wish us evil no less than them. Right there is a link, and this is not even considering the historical, the religious, the civilizational, Athens and Jerusalem, the fact that our own heritage is inconceivable without the Old Testament no less than the New. We are linked historically, morally, and it so happens to be that there is a current serious threat, in some ways greater than threats we faced before, and it's a threat faced not
I need a doob and a scoob snack.
Christianity, because the Islamic project is a religious project. It is the first totalitarian religious project in world history. We've had other totalitarianisms, but not based on religion. We're dealing with one. And what we've had this whole debate is a pretense that somehow there's no
What makes you angry about it?
Islamic project and the Jewish project. And all of this nonsense about the fact that somehow Israel is just as
Correct.
evil arises out of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nash. We're going to have a brief Q&A, and as people line up on the left side of this inside column, I want to give a final thank you to all of our sponsors, including Main First Project, Roar, Uncensored America, Apologetics Arc, and Yonaguni International Cuisine. Check them out in the description box. We are grateful for all of our sponsors. Believe in fair debate. With that, we're going to start the Q&A. If you guys can move right over here, thanks so much, and we're ready for you. And then, folks, if you can do a favor, if you want to have a conversation, do us a favor, just do it in the hallway. That way people can hear people asking the questions and the speakers answering their questions. All right, here we go.
Oh yeah, he was talking about drowning puppies. Yeah, I remember that.
In the hallway and talk.
Against the vegan.
For Dinesh. Dinesh, the United States is $40 trillion in debt. Only 1 in 4 Gen Z adults own their own home. 69% of Gen Z reported living paycheck to paycheck in a 2025 survey. So my question to you is this. How much money am I, as a 22-year-old husband and father, obligated to give to Israel? Or if it's not that, if it's not a monetary obligation, do you just have, like, warm, fuzzy feelings towards the Jews in Israel?
May I ask you a question? What is
Can you answer mine first and then ask me the question?
Yeah, I'll answer yours. I'm asking you with a view to answer yours. What is the total amount of money that we give to other countries?
I don't think we should give any money to other countries.
I'm asking you what we should do. How much is it that we do give?
Couldn't tell you.
You have no idea.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the
How much do we give
totality.
to Israel?
About $3 billion a year.
Okay. Do you think it's kind of interesting that you are super well informed on the $3 billion we give to Israel and
Because I
not
looked it
informed
up.
at all as to how much do we give to Egypt?
Well, you did say that in this debate, to be fair.
Well, that's also true.
Yeah, we give $3 billion to Israel.
No, correct. But what I'm saying is, isn't it interesting when the
I learned
United
it from you,
States,
Dinesh.
Smart move.
It's
You've
your
been learning
fault
them
that I
up.
know that.
the United States, unfortunately, is a profligate country that both domestically and internationally throws and wastes giant amounts of money. I'm simply saying it is really interesting that you have a surgical eye toward the $3 billion we give.
Yeah, Bill Burr sucks now.
No, you can't even say approximately what if we were giving, let's just say, for example, $3
What's up, Indonesia?
trillion or $10 trillion to other countries and $3.8 billion to Israel. Wouldn't that be interesting that you have no objection to all the others? You don't even know anything about them, but you're really
This is
well informed on
entirely
this
a
one.
non sequitur. You didn't answer my question, and you went on
Well,
this
I'm
random
answering your
tangent
question.
about other countries, and I asked you,
Israel,
how much am I obligated to give to Israel? How much?
You're not obligated to give a single penny, but you're not obligated. No, you're not obligated.
Yeah, baby.
No. We as a country have to make, hold on, we as
All
a
right,
country,
folks, need you to keep it down in the back.
we as a country have to make a political calculation about what is the value of our alliance with Israel. Zero. Okay. Well, what is the value? You know, we have NATO. We have alliances with South Korea and Japan. What is the value of having an alliance with India and Korea and Japan to check the growing power of China? You might answer again 0. And that will put you into a position where the United
That's what's up, bro. What's up, neither? What's up? Or X, MX.
I'm simply saying that with Israel, we actually do get a lot for our money. With other countries, not only do we get nothing, we don't even ask. We don't even ask what we're getting.
Well, Dinesh, should Israel pay us to protect them?
Well, I mean, Israel's. If the United States does Israel buy our military equipment just so they can pay us?
Well, I'm asking them,
just
should
so
they
they can hear
pay
you,
us?
Dinesh, just so they can hear you, your mic. If you can bring your mic back towards you.
Right
oh,
here.
the second mic, though.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm asking you specifically, should Israel pay us to protect them?
Yes, and I think it does. Israel does pay us.
What? How much
Well-
per year do they pay us?
Well, does Israel buy our military equipment?
do
Yes
we
or no?
buy theirs?
We buy theirs and they buy ours.
That's a trade agreement. We actually send them cash. We send them money yearly. How much should they send to us for protecting them? I don't want to hear about, we trade with them. We trade with everybody. How much do you think they should pay us to protect them?
How much should the Europeans pay us to protect them?
A lot.
A lot.
And
how
Trump
much do they
demanded
pay?
that they pay more.
No, Trump
Jungle Book, that's a good one.
is simply demanding that they pay more to their own defense.
Yeah,
Trump
yeah,
has not even
yeah.
asked for one.
What's up a Jewish incel?
Yeah, but what's funny-
So why?
Yeah.
Look,
But they should pay more for their own defense. But the
Okay.
thing that's funny is like,
all right.
the European Union is not even a protectorate. They can defend themselves. Israel can't. They can't defend themselves without us. How much should our protectorates pay us? How much? Can we ask reasonably? Can we ask reasonably for fairness? Why not $500 a day per citizen of Israel?
I can give you a chance to respond, and then we gotta go.
That sounds like a lot of money.
Preventing an invasion by China.
They should pay for whatever the naval cost is of doing that.
Right. This is why you're not president, because billing the Taiwanese per citizen isn't really going to work. We don't have to defend Taiwan if we don't want to, but it is in our interest to do it, by the way.
Do you
It
think
is in our interest to protect South Korea. It is in our interest to prevent bad stuff from happening in Europe. That's why even Trump, even though he's not involved in the Ukraine war, is keeping an eye on it. We do have interest.
Well, I'd actually
even
say
over
this
there.
is why you shouldn't be president, because we can easily force these nations to pay a protection cost for us protecting their asses from invasion from their enemies.
Folks, need you to keep it down.
Okay.
All right, just to get to the next question, and then folks, do me a favor and just keep the backward or the background.
All right, Dinesh, to get to the Bible, right, in Isaiah 63 verse 10, God turns his back on their
Hashtag free Taiwan.
Hosea chapter 1 verse 9, they did the same thing, and he said to them, you are not my people, I'm not your God. And then Christ himself, when he was brought before Pontius Pilate, the Jews said, we crucify him, something like that, and they accepted the curse. So why should Christians be morally obligated to support the ideologies that put God on a cross?
Okay. I'm going to read you from Paul's letter to the Romans. This is 11, 28, 29. I'm reading verbatim. This is Paul talking about the Jews. Hold on. He's talking about the Jews. He's talking about the Jews.
I would never cheat on my wife.
They are enemies for your sake. But concerning the election,
I never watched Moist Critical, so I couldn't tell you.
the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. End quote.
Do a poo.
The meaning of this is that God never permanently turns his back on the Jews. God never revokes his promises. You will not find a single passage in the Old Testament or the New which says God, whatever God gave to Abraham, God took it all back. Even though there are gripers who talk about that now, we should go occupy Israel, it belongs to the Christians because Jesus was a Christian. The truth of it is that the salvation, Jesus, out of Jesus' own mouth, salvation is from the Jews. I mean, this passage must really, I talked about some suppositories, right? Here's one from Jesus himself. Salvation is from the Jews, and the rest of us have the opportunity to be grafted in. In other words, there's no salvation without the Jews. Now, is anything that Andrew said today even remote?
I don't know how many words was I supposed to say, bro. I don't understand what you're talking about.
the people of the old covenant were the ones getting crafted out. And then we, the
Cite the
Gentiles, are the
passage.
ones being put in.
11:22 and 27. It reaffirms the fact that wild branches grafted can be cut off. There you go.
All right, we'll jump to the next.
Yeah.
So yes, Andrew did say things that remotely support that. Yes.
No, he didn't.
Yes, it did.
He paraphrased something that he's interpreting in his own way.
I know. Who interprets the Bible? You? You're the ultimate authority.
Well, no, I mean, I read it for you to interpret for yourself.
Well, and I
it
just
speaks
did.
for itself.
I just did, and I interpreted it differently.
I have anxiety too.
Ready, Jonathan?
I was
But yeah, thanks. I'm just chilling with everybody.
actually going to do the same scripture, but I think it's really we need to protect the Jews because God is going to say, hey, when the full number of Gentiles come, then the Jews have to be saved, and then the end will come. That's really what I would go with. And I actually have a great idea for your next debate. Should Israel become basically like a protectorate, like what's the word?
A vassal state?
Yeah, well, not like a vassal state, more like how Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States.
Are you asking me?
Would you like to do that as like
No.
Might as well, at this point.
Oh, I don't. Listen, what I think is that I agree with a lot of what Dinesh says when he's talking about the rights of nations, especially when he's talking about conquest. I just think that you're not in a position to bargain if you're a protectorate.
Right.
The Holy Land does not just belong to Jews. An Orthodox church sits on the tomb of Jesus. Why is it that we don't continuously allow, Dinesh, for Christians to immigrate to Israel and make that demand that they allow it? Because there would be tens of thousands who would. And it's not like they're in a position to bargain. Why do we need to leave it a Jewish state? Exactly. Why is it necessary?
Well, first of all, we do live in a world of sovereignty where a lot of what you've been talking about, we need to seal our borders. America has every right to decide who comes in. But then when it comes to Israel, somehow they don't have that right. They can't decide who gets.
It's not a right. Hang on. It's not a right. A right is what you can enforce.
This whole
a right is what you can't enforce, and they have no choice. We do. We're the United States. We can tell you can't come in here, fucker. But if we couldn't, what do you say? Conquest. It's conquest. If you're a protectorate, you don't have rights, except the rights that you are given by those who protect you, and that's that.
All right. So you have a holy land. By the way, the Holy Land is not just Israel, right? There are holy sites in Jordan. There are holy sites all over the region. The Muslims maintain iron control over the holy sites in their countries. Christians have no rights. If you've been to any of the holy sites in Israel, as I have, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is thronging with Syrian nuns and nuns from India and priests from Africa. It's open. All faiths can come there. There's no restriction. So the argument that we should use military force,
I didn't say military
or we should strong arm Israel, that we need 100,000 Christians to go over there to keep an eye on the holy sites. This is an invented solution to a non-problem.
Well, wait.
And it's done with just malicious intent. Because you would never say that of anybody.
Yes, I would.
No,
I would
you
say
wouldn't.
the same thing. Any protectorate that we have, where we allow immigration to us, we should demand that they allow immigration there. Period.
Okay. So what should we do?
Then we got to go to the next
Okay,
one.
let's keep moving.
Great.
Dinesh, if I decided to convert to Judaism tomorrow, do I have the right to move to Israel and kick out a Christian?
Fucking tweakers, man. It's not like someone's dying out there. I don't know. How old is your fridge, man?
Family from their home, live in it? And if the answer is no, what percentage of my DNA being ethnically Jewish would make this morally justified?
Let's go through it slowly, because there are like 4 steps in there. Yeah. If you have a right to convert to Judaism, which you do, and then you would have a right to emigrate to Israel. If Israel takes Jews from all over the world, it follows. The rest of it doesn't follow. So I don't think that you have some right.
Yeah, maybe he was getting disposed of, as they say.
Right to go kick someone out of their home. I don't agree that you would have the right to displace a Christian family. So no, you would have the right to move to Israel. You could go buy an apartment in, Hatzor or wherever you want and live there.
But what about a nation's sovereignty, man? Couldn't they just say, hey, you can kick out this Christian and you'd be fine with that because they're sovereign and stuff, right?
Well, what I'm saying is that Israel is a democracy. They can make laws within their country just like we can make laws in ours. I haven't heard you propose that we go take Jordan by force, even though there are holy sites in Jordan. There are holy sites all over the region, by the way. You have abstained from calling for any kind of strong arming of any Muslim country. Why? Because you know that that's stupid and we're not going to do it and it's not even on the table.
Yeah, I don't.
But somehow when it comes to Israel, it's like, okay, because...
Yes, I don't think Christians want to immigrate to inbred Muslim nations. That big brain flesh over here.
Okay,
I do think that they would want to immigrate to Israel, the site of Jesus Christ, yes.
Try to get more.
Yes, this one's for you, Andrew. This was good, but at the same time, I was left a little disappointed, not from you, but because you weren't able to actually argue the ought. And so my question to you, Andrew, is if you came with any idea of if you actually would have an ought, obviously that's not your responsibility. What would you defend?
In my opening statement, I predicted that Dinesh would not actually have an ought for this. Now, to be perfectly fair, and I'm going to be fair to my opponent, right? It was a spirited debate. I get all that. It is the harder position. It is literally the harder position, and usually you guys are just used to me taking the harder position, but for once, he had to defend a position. I thought it was important that he did, but I did not think he would have an ought, no, because I don't think it's easy to make one for this.
All right, so let me say a word about this. Somehow, there is a distinction between an is and an ought. And there's a certain naive view that an is and ought are unconnected. That somehow if you say an is, no ought follows from the is. This is
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's called Hume's guillotine.
Yeah, exactly. And Hume is not only out of step with the mainstream of philosophy, it would... Oh yeah, okay.
Want to let Dinesh finish?
I'm very familiar with Hume, don't get me wrong.
That door is gray. It implies what ought?
Okay.
That door is gray.
Okay.
What implies what ought?
All right. I am an author. I ought to write some books.
Uh-huh.
I just gave you an is that implies an ought. I am an author. That's an is. I ought to write some books. He is a doctor. He ought to cure people.
We're going to jump to
This
is the last question.
This is the keyboard.
What's the ought?
Okay. It ought to be used for computing.
This is the last question.
I just gave it to you, and because you're stumped, the best thing that you can do is to guffaw, because you think that in classical Christian philosophy, every ought.
All right, folks, need to keep it down.
Jesus died for our sins. We ought to worship him. Is and ought is more closely connected than Hume conceded. Hume wanted to attack morality. And his way of attacking morality is to put all of morality in the ought column, and therefore to say that no ought can come out of an is. You think Aristotle would have agreed with that?
You just said, well, first of all, these are two different philosophies, but you just said, I said this is a keyboard, and you said you ought to use it.
It ought to be used for...
Hang on. All I'm asking, I'm just going to ask a simple question. How do we get to the I ought to use it? Because I described that it is that thing.
Well... The ought is teleologically derived from the thing that it is. I mean, a lot of the argument...
Why can't I just use it as a paperweight?
Okay, a lot of the classical argument against homosexuality is that you have a rear end, it ought to be used for the purpose of excretion and not to stick large objects in it, right? There is an ought coming out of an is. There you go.
That does not defer an ought from
women are constructed.
You ought to lick my bowels.
A certain way. That is the is. Right? Women ought to live a certain way and derive certain social roles and responsibilities which arises out of their nature. I've just given you an ought that comes out of an is.
Hang on, Dinesh, I just want to, real quick, it'll take me 1 second.
Yeah,
I walk into a room and there's a woman on the bed, spread eagle. I ought to fuck her, right?
Right. There we go.
Is that what I said?
No, that's what I'm asking.
No.
Why not? The telos, man. My penis goes there, bro.
Wow. Wow.
We're gonna wrap up. I want to give you a chance if you would like to respond to Nash. Otherwise, we'll go to. We're gonna do.
Okay.
Do want to ask each of you if you can share for those viewing online where people can find you online. As we've got both of our guest links in the description, folks. But do want to share. Or want to hear where you can.
I
share.
do a weekly show called Dinesh. It's on X and YouTube and Rumble. I'm publishing a book on biblical archaeology in October. It's called The Stones Cry Out. And it is about the massive findings in biblical archaeology, Old and New Testament both, that support and authenticate the historicity of the Bible and support the foundations of Western civilization.
Thank you so much.
My name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of The Crucible. I do everything from political commentary, news coverage. I do debates all the time. Home of the TikTok invasion, where we make lunatics seethe. That's my favorite thing on planet Earth. And that's where you can find me on The Crucible on YouTube and Rumble. Not one step back.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Please join me in giving a round of applause. Special thanks to our sponsors, Main First Project.
That was a cool debate. I guess. I guess.
Thank you.
hungry or something, y'all mango? Stripper name is the Devastating D.
DJ, uma que vai mandar pras piranha do buceta, pras piranha do buceta. Brincando de fazer tudo carinho. DJ, vilão que lançou essa vira hit, essa vira hit. Safadinha, novinha, safadinha, safadinha. Então.
That shit threw me off. Alright, I gotta restart. I'll be back in a second.